And for deeper analysis, we're bringing in former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, retired General Wesley Clark, and NewsNation national security contributor, retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton. Gentlemen, welcome both. It's really good to have both of your perspectives here. And General Newton, why don't we just start with you here? We are finding out more about Operation Midnight Hammer. The group of B-2 stealth bombers that flew from Missouri west to the Pacific were actually decoys all along. And another group was quietly headed east to attack Iran's nuclear sites, of course. Give us a sense of the closed-door decisions taking place behind the scenes here and how complex, how tightly timed this maneuver had to be.
Well, absolutely. First off, it's good to be with my former boss, General Clark. We were stationed on the Joint Chiefs of Staff together, and it's just a delight to be with him. The scope and the scale of that B-2 attack, along with, by the way, there were a total of 125 U.S. aircraft involved. But the B-2 aspect of this, as we talked about last night, I was the first stealth squadron commander, the B-2 squadron commander, and actually planning this campaign has been really the works of in years. We've had this target folder for years, and these B-2 crews, along with other joint forces, really executed a near flawless air campaign. But you're right, there was this deception with regard to the launch of a package of B-2 bombers that went out west around midnight last Friday night. We woke up Saturday morning thinking that the B-2s were headed to Guam, but just shortly thereafter, 7 B-2s were headed towards Iran, met up with their tanker task force and made it to Iran. They were picked up by F-35 and F-22 escort stealth fighters who also participated in this. My final point, though, the synchronization, integration of this, nobody else can do this but the United States military. We make it look easy, but actually we had Tomahawk cruise missiles from submarines launched at 5 o'clock before the B-2s even got on station. B-2 struck targets at 6:40, Eastern time, and then they exited at 7:05 on Saturday. But then right thereafter, Natasha, these TLAM cruise missiles actually struck their targets. And then my final point is, as General Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said, Iran never saw them coming. The fact that there wasn't one single shot fired. We had deconfliction with the Israeli Air Force. I mean, just lots going on. We're very, very proud of our airmen. So quite a show of air power and joint power as well as from the sea.
An extraordinary operation. And General Clark, I mean, this was an 18-hour flight to drop the payloads on Iran. Give us a sense of likely timeline. When would they have made the decision to carry out this mission? And do you have a sense this was the plan from the very beginning, even with all of the talk about the 2-week decision timeline just being a distraction, perhaps?
Well, I think this has been in the planning for weeks. I think they probably didn't make the final decision until just before launch. But I think the decision was probably prompted by the evidence that Iran was evacuating materials from the Fordo reactor site. And there were trucks there. So we don't know really yet how much we got in terms of the fissile material. What we do know is that there was a lot of it. If it got out at 60% enrichment, it's very dangerous. It could be used in weapons. Maybe it wouldn't give you a complete nuclear explosion like a 90%, but it would definitely cause damage and certainly contribute to a very dangerous, dirty bomb if it were used. And we also had the suspicion, and again, I don't have access to this, but what I've heard is that there were sites in eastern Iran where they'd actually gone through the process of learning how to mate the bomb to a missile, how to fit it into a warhead, and so forth. So the evidence that the DNI had may not have indicated they were actually building the bomb, but they were certainly making all the preparations to it. And so I think that President Trump gave himself a couple of weeks as he was watching this mature. But I think, the hammer was pulled back. And as we saw them evacuating, I think by Friday afternoon, that decision was made to launch.
And General Clark, we'll stay with you for a moment. What are you watching for most closely in this moment?
It's not about Iranian retaliation. There will be retaliation by Iran. You just have to expect that. And we're preparing as best we can for it. If they really do close the Strait of Hormuz, that's a problem. because that really will have an economic impact immediately. But I think the most important thing is the administration and Israel has to figure out what the end game is. Are we going to simply say, okay, well, we've certainly set back their nuclear program. We don't know how much, maybe 6 months, maybe 6 years, and we've got a wounded tiger on our hands. Or do we say it's all ahead, full steam ahead for regime change, bomb them every day until they bleed, until they beg us to stop? Or do we simply say, look, you're welcome to come back to the negotiating table. Maybe we ask the Omanis, the Saudis, maybe even the Russians or the Greeks or somebody to go in there and talk to the Iranians and talk sense to them and say, let's just stop this right now. What we really want is not regime change. What we really want is the Iranian regime to renounce its professed aim to destroy Israel. Why can't they just live in peace in the region?
Wow. Again, there's so much to unpack there. General Newton, I want to get your voice back in here. Of those three paths just laid out by General Clark, what do you think the end game should be? What should the aim be for the Trump administration right now?
Well, I agree with General Clark. I don't think we ought to be in the regime change business here. The aim would go out and to destroy as best we possibly can their nuclear weapons development capability. So we shouldn't foment that, nor should we orchestrate that. I think we also maintain very close ties and see no daylight between us and Israel. Israel has conducted a spectacular air campaign up to this point. I would encourage them to keep their foot on the gas. I would continue to provide defensive capability so Israel can defend itself, particularly from, there are still ballistic missiles in the arsenal of Iran. We've seen that tonight. The other aspect of this is, again, to add to what General Clark said, the concern is about the Strait of Hormuz, absolutely, and he knows this as well. It's also, we've got 45 to 50,000 men and women in uniform serving in the Mideast. General Kurilla, the commander of U.S. CENTCOM, is absolutely focused on protecting our American men and women there. To make sure that they are, in terms of they are in harm's way and they're in high alert right now. But I believe, let me just final point on General Clark. I think what he articulated was find a mediator, find it, rather than us go publicly direct with Iran, I think we find a mediator such as perhaps the Swiss, the Turks, or whomever, and try to really understand what their aims are and be very clear about our aims. As well, that moving forward with it, and again, not articulate that we want regime change here, but I think what General Clark said, first on the priority list, denounce, again, what you have, been saying for over 4 decades about destroying Israel. That's got to stop, and then follow up with that in terms of what, conditions have they see themselves moving forward as a theocracy and perhaps
General Clark, I want to bring you back in just about 20 seconds. I wanted to ask a VP J.D. Vance saying we are at war not with Iran, but with Iran's nuclear program. I mean, in your eyes, is there a distinction here? Is that just semantics?
It's mostly semantics, but the vice president said it well when he said that we don't want a wider war. What we do want is to end this through some kind of negotiation that defangs Iran. But right now, what we're going to face is retaliation, and we're going to face a very recalcitrant, angry, wounded Iran. We have to recognize that.
All right, General Wesley Clark, Lieutenant General Richard Newton, thank you both. Really appreciate both of your perspectives tonight.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.